Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Today we're going to be exploring something that I've wanted to talk about for a little while now actually, ever since we did the God Crovey Easter egg, we finished it and everything, and there were those 3 souls at the end. I've been really just wanting to dive into this topic, but finding it extremely difficult to do so, because I pride myself on going really deep with the zombie storyline, and I feel like I bring you guys really well thought out content. But this particular topic is a real can of worms. It is nasty, and so I've kind of shied away from doing a video because I don't want to say something that I haven't thought out well enough. Similarly, I don't want to post something that I feel is wrong. And I made a video the other day and I was like 20 minutes into recording the video, like 20 minutes of footage recorded, ready to upload, and then I was like, hold on, I don't like this theory anymore. I've just sort of lost faith in it, and so from that point I basically had to can that video, and I tweeted out about it, and people were like, Milo, post the video anyway. But I didn't believe in the theory, so I don't know why people were still wanting the theory to be posted. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe you guys are just interested in hearing me ramble regardless of whether it's right or wrong. I don't know. But anyway, I thought that I would start this video off by basically saying that, do you guys think that I should do some kind of series or just ongoing load of videos talking about like fan theories and things like that, and either debunking them or saying what their merits are, or just generally communicating with you guys a bit more of my thinking process behind a lot of the theorizing that I do? Because that way I could, I guess, make videos a bit more easily. Like right now, especially in this current moment in time in the story, it's horrible for me. It's really horrible because I'm having to go through so many hours of thinking with a bunch of friends as well. Like there's people over on the CODs forums, there's people that I just talked to on Skype, there's people all over the place who I'm communicating with about all the stuff that's happening, and we're all sitting here going, crikey, there is a lot to digest right now. And any theory that comes around has to go through all these rigorous checks, and it's just like, oh my goodness, this is such a palaver. So maybe you guys would like me to have some kind of outlet for a discussion of these kind of creative ideas that aren't necessarily always going to be hitting the nail on the head, but it's showing you a bit of the theorization process. I don't know. Let me know in the comments section down below, because to be honest, for me, that would be liberating as hell, because I could actually make some damn videos instead of sitting here and basically scratching my head trying to figure out what the actual correct answer is all the time. Instead of that, we could maybe talk about the questions together. So let me know if that's something that would interest you. Today, though, I've got my list of crap here, and we're going to be talking about this whole 3-soul shebang, and specifically, not just the whole 3-soul shebang, but specifically the idea that Richtofen didn't collect his soul in the Giant. It's an interesting one, this. I've been tweeted it a load of times. The reason I'm actually making this video, I've been provoked right now, because I was reading the comments on my Zombie Storyline Explained video, my 5-minute Zombie Storyline recap, and someone was just like, this is wrong. He didn't collect his soul. This is wrong. You're wrong, Milo. And I was like, I very strongly disagree. But I'm not going to leave a comment here where no one's going to see it. Instead, I might as well make a video and talk about this because the community needs to know. So, why do I disagree? Well, there are a couple of options here. And you're about to see why this is such a messy topic, okay? There are a couple of options for the current setup that is in place in the storyline, okay? In extreme brief, we've got some really odd ideas that have been introduced to us, okay? We've got the children. They're in the house. Sam and Eddie are both in the house. They've been withered, they've been weeping, now they've been returned to Maxis, good for him, but they've been screaming, or at least Samantha has been screaming his name, whoever he is, okay? That's a digression we won't go into. In fact, I guess a brief house summary, just for those of you that aren't aware, oh god, I really don't like talking about this because, again, we know so little about it that you have to basically make so many assumptions in your thought process, but roughly speaking, big war outside the house, great war, in fact, great battle, Apothicons, nasty stuff. Maxis has a plan, drops the nukes, well, nukes, who knows if they're actually nuclear, we can presume so, because how else are you going to deal with the Apothicon menace? Gets rid of them, also happens to rather mess up himself. He messes himself up, and Samantha withers, Eddie withers, the children are sobbing, Monty comes along, hello, Dr. Maxis, boom, I've got a plan, buddy, but you're gonna have to do something for me in return. Sort of events tumble forward a little bit, and then you end up with Maxis indebted to Monty, and then Richtofen working with Maxis because he made a vow to him so long ago, or potentially multiple vows, but I'm assuming it's only one for now. and then you end up with this weird power play situation going on where Richtofen is also planning his own thing with the blood, and he's got Maxis involved with that, so Maxis is at the bottom of one food chain and in the middle of another, which is a really awkward position to be in. And then, I mean, if DLC 4 is Revelations, then, I mean, we might be seeing a sort of weird situation where there's like a false prophet, and, I mean, that would probably put Richtofen being in the position of Jesus. It gets really weird. Like, we're in a really strange spot in the story right now. Believe me, we are in probably the healthiest spot the story has ever been in its entire history of existing, which is fantastic, because we need to be here in advance of DLC 4, where they basically say, full stop, there you go, brackets, gothic brackets, you'll understand that reference in a couple of videos' time. But yeah, we're in a weird place right now, but let's go back a little bit to this power play relationship. You've got the Monty side of it, where he seems to be asking for the souls to be collected, but even that is horribly ambiguous. Like, yes, he does tell Richtofen, or rather he does tell Maxis, to then tell Richtofen the location of the Chronorium, and the Chronorium contains the location of the summoning key, and so implicit in that is the idea that Monty wants Maxis to tell Richtofen to go get the Chronorium, to get the summoning key, to get the souls, but it's still really just, it's ambiguous in the way that they give you that information, in my opinion at least. So that's one side of this weird kind of coin that we've got established right now. The other side is this blood plan, but also involved in that is this whole quote about the immunity, right, from France. The whole fact that they opened the portal in France, and that's why they're immune, but Maxis fears, and he tells this to Richtofen, that M isn't telling them something, there isn't much time left for them, and in that message, it doesn't say, we need to collect the souls, it says, we need to kill the exact versions of ourselves in the exact universes at the exact times, and then the message goes on. So, again, in there's some room for interpretation that the souls aren't actually part of that process, which really throws a spanner in a lot of other works, and so it's not really something I want to dive into specifically now, because it's a bit of a weird deviation from things. But what I'm trying to get at here is the fact that we've got two sides of the coin. We've got Richtofen's side, and we've got Monty's side, and they're sort of odds. They don't really work together. They're very much separate plans, okay? I mean, Richtofen being Jesus is weird enough in itself, let alone anything else that's going on here, but I digress. If Richtofen didn't collect his soul, there's a major problem with the logic that we have in the stuff I've just talked about, okay? If Monty has told Maxis about the Chronorium, so Maxis can tell Richtofen about the Chronorium, so Richtofen can go to the Chronorium to get the Chronorium, to read the Chronorium, to be armed with the knowledge within it, and then to go find the summoning key to collect the souls, then that's great, that's fine, that chain of logic works. And so this situation gives us a lovely reason why on the Shadows of Evil secret scrap there are the 4 sets of coordinates in the corners of the scrap itself, each of them pointing us towards our own set of basically characters, our own 1.0 for us to go kill and get the soul of. So this would be a scenario where Monty wants the souls, and he's told through Maxis, Richtofen, the locations of those souls, and that's why they are on the scrap of paper. Now this requires Monty to be aware of the fact that Richtofen is then not going to send him that 4th soul, or rather the 1st soul, Richtofen's soul, at the end of Gorod Krovi. He needs to be aware for the following reason. If he saw Richtofen sending those souls up at the end of the cutscene, and there was a missing soul, he'd straight away clock onto what Richtofen was doing, right? He doesn't understand Richtofen, matey, as he says in that cutscene, or rather after the cutscene. If he was expecting a soul to be sent up, and it was missing, then that would surely ring some alarm bells in his head, unless his lack of understanding goes that far that he just doesn't understand why Richtofen would possibly do that, and I mean, you see what I mean? It gets really, really just convoluted, and I don't really like this confusion that we have, really. So that's one possibility, is that Monty has requested the soul, and then Richtofen has not sent the soul, and that's completely within Monty's thinking of how things should be going. Fine. There's also the possibility that Monty asks for the soul, but then isn't directly observing Richtofen in that moment, in which case he doesn't know that the soul isn't being sent because he's only going to be learning of the souls being sent through Maxis in the house, and so potentially he isn't aware of the fact that there's a missing soul there. fine again, I guess. I don't really like that idea, but fine, sure, let's go with that, whatever. There's also then the option that Richtofen doesn't collect, right? But then in that case, if he doesn't collect the soul, for what purpose is he not collecting the soul? If Monty has asked him for the soul and he doesn't get it, then what is the deal with... If Monty has asked him for the soul and he doesn't collect the soul, then surely Monty is going to be fully aware of that. It's been several maps where Monty's been observing the cast. He says he's heard all of Tank's field reports. He's been very much listening in. So surely he would know if Richtofen didn't get the soul. And so that would then ring alarm bells in his head, like I said before, like the similar scenario momentarily ago, and therefore he'd know what Richtofen was doing. So that's sort of one route that you can go with it. Another possibility is that Richtofen didn't get the soul because he didn't want the soul, and Monty never asked him for that soul. Monty only asked for the other 3 souls, but in that case, why are the 4 souls on the Shadows of Evil secret scrap? Once again, that scrap is integral here to our understanding of this particular problem, because it's got 4 souls on it. It's got 4 locations of 4 people, rather. And so, if Richtofen doesn't want the soul, why would he write that on the scrap and say, we all must die and all that sort of stuff? Like, why would that be there? I feel like there's a missing link somewhere in that chain of logic. So we kind of end up dug into a bit of a rut where we've got all these branching possibilities for whether Monty wants the souls, whether Richtofen somehow wants the souls simultaneously alongside Monty for his own purposes, and that could potentially give us a reason why Monty isn't expecting a 4th soul, but Richtofen has wanted the 4th soul anyway because he's planning to use that 4th soul potentially in conjunction with the Shadow Man in the key. But then again, surely Monty would be aware of that, so it really does just put us in a really strange spot. And I think I'm going to have to do a really sort of in-depth video on this that will be like 35 minutes long, and I'll sit down with my whiteboard and I'll essentially make some Monty-style flowcharts and just run through all the possibilities. And you guys can say what you think is a good idea and what you think is kind of off. Because right now, I'm in a place where I don't think there is an easy answer to this question. I think that they have purposefully given us a scenario where we're just kind of feeling in the dark for what's going on here. We've got a fairly good grasp of, or at least I feel like I have a fairly good grasp of the Origins cutscene, and I feel like I have a fairly good grasp of the house, and I feel like I have a fairly good grasp of the intentions of the characters, and what the endgame will potentially resemble as well, but there's still so much nuance that is completely in shadow right now that is making theorizing very difficult, which plays into what I was saying at the beginning of this video. So, I also feel like I've been frowning for this entire video. I apologize if I have been. My eyebrows are just, they're not in a happy place right now. All this complex theorization is doing a number on me. So, hopefully you've enjoyed this video, guys. I wanted to basically post something that was a bit more conversational and talked about my difficulties that I'm having right now with making content that I'm actually happy with, because I'm holding myself to a really high sort of like bar. Like, I've set the bar extremely high for myself because I have really high standards. Like, I don't want to lower the quality of my content. And so it's just becoming more and more difficult to actually make videos on the real nitty-gritty storyline content here, because I could say something and then a week later, what I've just said could be completely wrong, and that's evidenced by that video I was making, that theory, 20 minutes of me talking about this theory, and then I'm sitting there midway through the sentence, and I'm like, oh, don't like this idea anymore. Out the window with it, off it goes. That's my entire day, plus any scripting I did for that video, which I did a little bit of, plus all the actual setup and recording of the video, plus any editing I then would have done, out the window, just gone, because I just decided I didn't like the theory anymore. And that was one little idea. That wasn't even like a grand thing. So, story's in a really healthy place right now, but a difficult one. A really, really nasty one. And I love it and I hate it. It's a blessing and a curse. It's something that is making it really hard for me to talk about things like ciphers with as well, because what I've sort of done throughout Black Ops 3 is when there's been a new cipher that releases, I've just made a video about it straight away, and I've given my thoughts, and I'd say like 9 times out of 10, those thoughts have stood the test of time. Like, there's never really been a scenario where I think I've talked about a cipher, and then I've looked back on it a few weeks later and gone, oh my goodness, what the hell was I talking about? I was talking about my arse there. That was terrible, Milo. What are you doing? I really feel like I've done justice to all the things that we've found and the videos that I've made. But now, like, there are so many theories, or rather, there are so many ciphers in God Crovy that I want to talk about, but just in the context of the grand scheme of things, like the Knight and Pablo Marinus and the King and that whole shebang, I want to talk about that so much, but because of the standards that I've got for myself, it makes it really difficult for me to produce something in a timely manner that I can actually really get behind. So you see my frustrations right now, guys. Hopefully, this isn't something that is boring you too much. This is really something that I feel is integral to us discussing if we're gonna find the optimal way for me to be making my content in the next couple of days, weeks, and months, especially with Revelations around the corner now pretty much, and it's 2 months away, which is crazy. But anyway, I've digressed enough towards the end of this video. I've got the theory stuff out of the way. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I want to hear your thoughts on everything. And YouTube comments recently have been abysmal. Like, not just my channel, but the entire site, the comment section, has been pretty much ruined by all the stuff that they've done with Google+, and it's a really nasty place right now. I've actually started someone to basically go through my comments and just ban people because there's so much vitriol and hate and falsehoods and spam and abuse and homophobia and racism and sexism and threats and everything. It's horrible. So YouTube comments are pretty nasty right now, but I'm going to make an effort to go through all of this video's comments and really try and get some feedback from you guys on where you want me to take things in the next couple of days. So thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed, then leave a like as always, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.